The human brain is often called the most complex object in the known universe. And for good reason. It's a 3-pound organ made of soft, jelly-like tissue, but it holds everything you are. Your thoughts, your memories, your emotions, your fears, your dreams, your entire sense of self. But how does it actually work? Let's begin with structure. The brain is made up of about 86 billion neurons, specialized cells that send and receive electrical and chemical signals. These neurons aren't just sitting there individually, they're connected by trillions of tiny junctions called synapses. Every time you think, move, remember, feel, or decide, certain neurons fire off electrical impulses, and these signals travel across synapses to other neurons, forming vast networks of communication. These networks are dynamic. They're always changing, adapting, strengthening, weakening, based on your experience. This ability is called neuroplasticity. In other words, your brain rewires itself as you learn and live. Now, the brain isn't a single uniform mass. It's divided into regions, each with different responsibilities. At the back of your head, you have the occipital lobe. It handles vision. The temporal lobes on the sides help with hearing and memory. The parietal lobe processes touch and spatial orientation. And the frontal lobe, the most evolved part, handles reasoning, planning, self-control, and personality. Beneath the cortex lie deeper structures like the thalamus, which relays information, the amygdala, which triggers emotional responses like fear and pleasure, and the hippocampus, essential for forming new memories. These regions aren't isolated. They interact constantly, like a city with specialized districts but a single integrated power grid. But what exactly does it mean for a neuron to fire? It starts when a neuron receives enough input from its neighbors. This triggers an electrical impulse called an action potential, a quick burst of voltage that travels down its long tail, the axon. When the impulse reaches the end of the axon, it triggers the release of neurotransmitters, chemicals like dopamine, serotonin, glutamate into the synapse. These chemicals float across the tiny gap and bind to receptors on the next neuron, influencing whether it fires in turn. That's how thoughts and sensations travel through your brain. One neuron sparking another, a chain reaction that happens millions of times per second. But the brain doesn't just process information, it learns. And learning changes its physical structure. Every time you practice something, say riding a bike or learning a new word, the neurons involved in that task get better at communicating. Their synaptic connections grow stronger. More neurotransmitters get released. The signal gets faster, more efficient. Think of it like upgrading from a dirt trail to a 6-lane highway. That's how memory works. Not by storing perfect files like a computer, but by reinforcing certain paths through the neural jungle. Repetition strengthens them. Neglect lets them fade. Your memories are living networks, fragile, editable, and deeply dependent on sleep, emotion, and context. Now let's talk about something we still don't fully understand: consciousness. Somehow, out of this vast web of electrical patterns, a sense of awareness arises. You don't just react to the world, you know you exist in it. You remember the past, imagine the future, and ask questions like, how does my brain work? Scientists suspect that consciousness arises from synchronized activity between different parts of the brain, especially the prefrontal cortex. When certain patterns fire together, you experience thought. When they change, so does your perception. And when large areas go quiet, like in deep sleep or under anesthesia, your awareness fades. It's like flipping off the lights in the control tower. But your brain isn't purely rational. In fact, most of your decisions are emotional long before they're logical. The limbic system, a group of structures deep inside your brain, processes emotions like fear, joy, anger, and love. When you see someone smile at you, your amygdala reacts before you even think about it. When you remember a painful event, it's not just information. You feel it in your body. That's because the brain doesn't separate mind and emotion. They're two sides of the same circuit. And then there's the question of the mind. Your brain is a physical organ. It has cells, blood vessels, electrical impulses. But the mind, your sense of self, your ideas, your imagination, is an emergent phenomenon. It arises from those electrical patterns but isn't bound to any single one. Change your brain's chemistry and your mind changes. Add caffeine and you're more alert. Take away sleep and your focus collapses. In severe cases, brain injuries can alter personality, memory, even morality. This suggests something profound. What you think of as you is actually a process, one that's constantly updating itself based on experience, biology, and time. But the brain is also a survivor. It evolved not to be perfect, but to be adaptable. It can reroute functions after damage, regenerate certain cells, and even create brand new neurons in some areas like the hippocampus. And with tools like meditation, learning, therapy, and social connection, we can train the brain to work better, more calmly, more creatively, more compassionately. This means you're not stuck being who you were. Your brain can change, and so can you. So how does the human brain work? It's a system of systems. Electrical impulses in chemical soup, a city of neurons, a storyteller, a prediction engine, a mystery generator. It receives signals from the outside world, combines them with memories and instincts, and generates actions. It feels, it learns, it adapts. And somehow it produces the experience of being. The human brain is not just a machine, it's a living paradox. Fragile, yet resilient. Automatic, yet self-aware. A lump of flesh that can compose symphonies, solve equations, and wonder about its own purpose. And it does all this from inside the dark, silent cave of your skull. We are walking around with galaxies inside our heads, and we still have so much to learn.